Hello and welcome to another episode of the Adrienne Ross Show, where sports and culture connect. I want to talk about new developments concerning Caitlin Clark. Apparently, someone has been stalking her, has been threatening her, and this man, who is from Texas, has been arrested. NBC News reports that Texas man arrested for allegedly threatening and stalking Caitlin Clark. The basketball star told police she feared suspect Michael Thomas Lewis, a 55-year-old Denton resident who traveled to Indianapolis. So here we have a Texas man was arrested in Indianapolis. A Texas man. Now he's in Indianapolis. He's arrested on charges of stalking WNBA star Caitlin Clark, authorities said Monday. Michael Thomas Lewis, 55-year-old resident of Denton, faces one count of stalking. One count of stalking for allegedly engaging in course of conduct involving repeated or continuing harassment of Caitlin that would cause a reasonable person to feel terrorized. Wow, this is from Marion County prosecutor concerning, said in a complaint. So from December 16th to January 2nd, Lewis, who they arrested on Sunday, so yesterday, apparently allegedly, he used X to send a series of vulgar, sexually charged messages to Caitlin. Police interviewed her on Saturday. Okay, so they interviewed her on Saturday. They arrested him on Sunday. And interviewing him on Saturday, she revealed that she, quote, has been very fearful since learning of the messages and that she has altered her public appearances and patterns of movement due to fear for her safety, according to the affidavit supporting Lewis's arrest. So whatever was in these messages that she learned of, and she's probably not checking her own social media from what she says. So somebody probably does that, has been seeing these messages. And ever since then, she's been fearful and she's got to disguise herself and change how she lives her life. Says Clark stated that she has become very concerned for her safety after learning that Lewis was in Indianapolis. And she also stated that she doesn't know Lewis, has never responded to any of his messages or posts. So the Marion County prosecutor, Ryan Mears, said his office takes online threats seriously because they easily can turn into real life acts. And he said in a statement, no matter how prominent a figure you are, this case shows that online harassment can quickly escalate to actual threats of physical violence. He went on to say it takes a lot of courage for women to come forward in these cases, which is why many don't. In so doing, the victim is setting an example, meaning Caitlin is setting an example for all women who deserve to live and work in Indy without the threat of sexual violence. Now, this is something that we have said when we've been here. When I say we, I just mean people who've been paying attention, and the WNBA players were saying things like, we're getting harassed. People at games are harassing us. People online are harassing us. And we've said, say something. If someone is truly threatening your life, following you, something that Angel Reese had mentioned before, you need to say something, right? Just throwing it out there and then blaming it on Indiana Fever fans, which is something that we've seen, is not the way to go. Like, say something, file complaints, do what Caitlin is doing. And this gentleman here, let me make sure I get it right. The Marion County prosecutor, Ryan Mears, is saying that too often people don't do this. This is so ridiculous for anyone. Glad Caitlin has done something about it. I'm glad this man has been arrested. I hope Indianapolis is better at handling these kinds of things than some other states where people can do any old kind of thing and then they release them, and the next thing you know, there's some sad thing that takes place. And we're saying not believing for that in this case, of course. And so hopefully they do the right thing, get to the bottom of this, these allegations for this man who's from Texas and shows up in Indianapolis and making kind of, sexual threats and all kinds of threats and stalking and stuff. It gives you the creeps. And not only that, it's got to be, it's got to be fearful. It's got to make you fearful, right? I mean, it's got to make you concerned at the very least. I already knew that Caitlin Clark had bodyguards, or security might be a better way of saying it, has security with her, and that's a good thing. But it's still freaky when you've got somebody out there constantly leaving messages, apparently, or allegedly. So this made me take a look into Indianapolis, Indiana, to find out, okay, where does Indiana stand on the Second Amendment? Even though you've got people that you've hired to be your security, people need to, there's a reason for the Second Amendment. I know that gets touchy for some people, but I will say again, there's a reason for the Second Amendment, and people have a right to be prepared to protect themselves. So I just did a little quick search because I was curious. I didn't do anything in depth, but I did do, I typed it, clicked it into Google to see where Indiana stands on that. And this is what I found. In terms of Indiana's gun laws, here's one of them. They have permitless carry. So as of 2022, Indiana is a permitless carry state, meaning that a license is not required to carry, conceal, or transport a handgun, shotgun, or rifle. However, there are certain criteria that must be met, including not being considered an, quote, improper person. An improper person could be someone with a felony conviction, domestic violence offense, or dangerous mental illness. And it has other rules here. Indiana residents can apply for a lifetime or 5-year firearms permit through the Indiana State Police. And I don't want to go through all of this, but this is the part that I wanted to point out. Indiana does have permitless carry, as it should be, because your permission to carry is our Constitution. I don't say all that to say that I hope that Caitlin will have to ever use her right to carry. I say that because in this society we're living in this current day culture, it is important that people are allowed to protect themselves. And usually the people who oppose that are people who are absolutely covered and protected. And then they want the rest of us to be sitting ducks. So anyway, thankfully, Caitlin does have security from what I know, and that this man has been arrested, and hopefully they'll get to the bottom of this Texas man who showed up in Indianapolis and has now been arrested for allegedly threatening and stalking Caitlin to the point that she is concerned, and she's had to alter her presence in public and change how she lives her life. And whatever those threats were, the report is that it's enough that any reasonable person would be really concerned. So I'm glad she reported it. I pray for her safety as for the safety of all people. And I pray that people do exactly what Caitlin Clark has done. And that is, you've got to get law enforcement involved. You can't just get on social media and then complain about it and not do something about it. You got to take this kind of stuff seriously. So thankfully she has, and this alleged stalker threatener has been arrested.